Grüezi YouTubers, here is the guy with the Swiss accent. LoRa is the abbreviation for long range. Today I want to see if this is an earned name. I will attempt to break at least 2 world records. The first one is the longest connection to a TTN gateway. And the second one is the longest LPWAN, low power wide area network, ground-to-ground connection with LoRa on 868 MHz. Maybe you want to accompany me in this attempt. As in every sport, I have to do some training. For example, find the right antenna and extend my knowledge about propagation of these LoRa waves in air. In video number 118, I already started with the training and the understanding of propagation. In addition, I had to set some goals for this attempt. As far as I know, the longest distances measured with LoRa gateways in Switzerland is 62 kilometers. And some crazy technicians from TI were able to get 100 kilometers in South Africa, but with a slightly different LPWAN technology. So the goal is for sure more than 100 kilometers. But as you know, we Swiss are ambitious. This project became possible when I discovered in my last video about LoRa that there is a new gateway on a hill in the middle of Switzerland called Weissenstein. But let's start with the training first. Last Saturday I drove around 300 kilometers with my car and my LoRa node. The initial plan was to go to the highest hill in our area, the Grand Ballon in France. There are websites available to map the profile between 2 points on the map. And here you see that I should have line of sight between the Grand Ballon and the Weissenstein. And the distance is about 80 kilometers. With this distance I would already be able to achieve goal number 1. But unfortunately it is still winter here and the road to the Grand Ballon is still closed. So I had to change my plan and I just searched hills in the surrounding to get a connection. Without big success. The first connection I got was only about 25 kilometers away from the gateway, which definitely was disappointing. Here you see that I had line of sight from this place to the gateway. But at least I was able to do some training. The first new thing was that I discovered a very promising project, the TTN Mapper. This is a web page and an app for iOS and Android, and they work together in a very innovative way. So let me explain how. You have to have your smartphone and your LoRa node with you. Then the app on your smartphone connects to the MQTT server on the Things network. As soon as your node sends a message and it arrives at one or more gateways, the TTN network sends an MQTT message to your smartphone. Because it knows the exact place of your node, it sends this position information together with the information about the connection to the web page, and there the connection is mapped. Very cool and extremely simple. You just have to keep this app running during your tests. And your smartphone needs to have an internet connection, which is not always easy, as we will see later. The other thing is that I was able to test the different antennas. Now we are here at a nice place at the border between Switzerland and Germany and France. And in this direction is the Weissenstein LoRa gateway. I try now with my biggest antenna whether I can reach it on SF12. And this is my biggest antenna here, 1.20 meter long. And I try now to reach the gateway. And here we see 1 minute ago I reached the gateway on SF12. Now I try with a smaller antenna. Now this is the smallest antenna here, a very short antenna, but it's also for 868 It is optimal for a small sensor node. You can hide it ideally, but now I check if I get also to the gateway. And I did not get to the gateway. You see, 4 minutes ago, this was my last try with a big antenna. And now I try with the normal antenna I used also in my former tests. And with this antenna I got it. So it's a big difference between the smaller one and the bigger one. So this antenna is already okay, and the big one is also okay. But of course I have more antennas. This is one which can be sticked to a surface somewhere, and it seems to be a dipole, and it's called super antenna. Now let's check. One disadvantage is it's 3 meters of very thin coax wire, which takes already a lot of energy away, but I'll try. This also didn't make it, so also this small antenna did not make it, but I have more antennas. Here is the next one, also a dipole. It's called a horn antenna. Let's check this one. This one also is okay. This is anyway one of the better antennas. I had also good results in other situations with this antenna, but I still have one more. This is an interesting antenna. It's completely round and can be mounted somewhere on top of a roof or something. It's quite small, so let's try. And this also came through. So also this small antenna here was also capable. And now the last one, which is longer than the average one I used for all the other tests. This is about 30 centimeters long. And also this one made it. Now I tried this one again, but without the wound coax cable. Now I have it free hanging, and it worked also. So also this super antenna works now. Just the smallest one did not work, and I check it again just to make sure. And when I placed it on my roof of the car, then it came through. So with the ground plane, this helps a lot. So now all antennas came through. Also here we see 1544 and 43. This was the smallest one. Quite interesting. Summarized, the antenna is less important than many people might think. The reason for that is that LoRa has a very high link budget, as shown in video number 112. And an antenna, even if it has lots of gain, adds only 6 to maximum 10 dB to this budget. This is why I was able to connect also with the smallest antenna to the gateway without any problems. But only with line of sight. And without line of sight there was no connection, also very close to a gateway. So I had to plan a new drive and a new attempt. The plan was to try the first connection at 50 kilometers. So the first stop was at Uptime. Here you see that I have a line of sight. It's morning. It's about 57 kilometers from the gateway in Switzerland. And here I have my device with the antenna, and I just logged the first hit, 57 kilometers to the Weissenstein. On SF12 I will check if it works also on SF7. And it works also on SF7, so nearly 60 kilometers on SF7. And it worked also with this smaller antenna. Now let's check the RSSI. With the big antenna it's minus 118, and with the small it's 117. The SNR is slightly different, so it's not a big difference, and it's SF7. Now we continue. This is the direction of the gateway, and I will now continue to the north to 100 kilometers. So the next position is close to Sélestat. It's 110 kilometers. And also here we have a connection, 111 kilometers. And by the way, it's with this small antenna here. Now I'm here in Schneersheim. This is just about 2 kilometers away from the place I really want to go, and I tried and it did not work here. Now I'm here in Neugardheim, and this is really on a very nice place. And here is direction of Weissenstein. And I got the connection. And now it's 150 kilometers. You see, I got a connection to Weissenstein Gateway with a SF12 for the moment. Now I check again. This is now the configuration which made 157 kilometers. This very small antenna made 157 kilometers to the Weissenstein. It's really incredible. And the RSSI is minus 117. Now I try on SF7. And it works also on SF7. But of course, it's not enough. We want more. In this direction, I have a small secret, and it is well possible that I will be able to create a world record for LoRa devices. Let's check. I'm still on my way to this secret place, or this special place. I'm now in between Germany and France, but still in France. Not a lot to see here. You might wonder how I found out about the place I will go. I will tell you this after we tested whether we will be able to create a world record. Now it's finished driving with the car. Now I have to walk up the hill here. Only birds here. And still my LoRa node. So here is the way, and here we get a hint. Hohenburg, which is French, and Löwenstein, which is German. So here we have the first ancient castle. It was built 1283, but I don't think a lot is still remaining. But you see now what I was looking for. But first, a little bit of work. Now you see it's still winter here, but a beautiful day. SF7. No success. Still no success. This unfortunately did not work, so the last chance is really the Chateau Hohenburg, which means high castle, so probably it works there. This is the way. And here is the castle with the tower. And here is the point I want to go. This is the final destination of today's journey. If it works, it works. If not, bad luck. This one was founded 200 years later than the Löwenstein. And it's a little bit better in shape, but not really. Now I'm up on the tower, and you see these guys back then really had a knack for nice positions for their houses. If you look around here, it's just nothing, just another castle, but nothing. This is really the top. This would be a perfect place for a Trump tower, I think. So let's start with the experiments. Unfortunately, for the moment, I do not have network coverage of the mobile. I have to check if I get it somewhere, because otherwise it's hard to log where I am, and also to check if we have a connection to the Things network. Now I got a connection to Weissenstein. Incredible. Now we can start to experiment. 201 kilometers. Now the messages start to come in with minus 112, which is a very good signal. It's strange. With SF7 it does not work. So this is definitely too much for SF7, but this is understandable somehow. Now the small antenna. In the meantime, I had more problems with the mobile network, because it connected me to a German network, and unfortunately my mobile phone has only a French number. But now I have everything in place, and I got connection with a small device, with a small antenna, RSSI 114. Quite good. SF12, of course. So everything achieved, what I wanted today. This is a real nice birthday gift for me, for my 60th birthday. I do not know, but I think more than 200 kilometers with this tiny chip here is really extraordinary. And I think also it is the longest distance which was measured with these small devices to a public TTN gateway so far. So now I go home. I promised to show you how I found the two castles from where the connection was possible. Fortunately, I found a great software from Roger Coudet, a ham radio operator with 40 years of experience in RF propagation. One of the functions is to simulate the coverage of a sender at a particular place. I first simulated my own gateway and discovered that the prediction of the software was very much in line with my experience from war driving in my last video. So I simulated the Weissenstein gateway. I treated it as a sender, not as a receiver. But physics do not care too much about that. And here is the result. We see that it covers a nice part of Switzerland, but it covers also a huge area in France and Germany. This is where I found my points at 50, 100 and 150 kilometers. The maximum was not so easy to find, because most of the possible points are in forests. And in the middle of a forest you have a big loss and the chance to get a connection is small. But then I discovered the two castles in the middle of the forest. And the rest of the story is known to you. Just a small remark. If you do not believe me that I established the two world records. Here you see that I really had a direct line of sight. And you see also that the Earth curvature is clearly visible. This is why you need a reasonable height for the sender and the receiver for these long distances. And you find a link in the comments where you see the logged connections on ttnmapper.org. I hope this video was useful or at least interesting for you. If true, then like. Bye.